Hey Redditors!
According to experts, the Smiths are considered pixie baby girl music and are a viable replacement to hormone therapy. And as a forewarning, if you wish to maintain your masculinity, I have to rate this video OE for overwhelming estrogen. So leave now if you wish to keep your masculinity in check.
Minty Guy LLC is not responsible for loss of hair, shrinkage, lactation, sudden and aggressive homosexuality, postpartum depression, and/or a greater understanding of gender politics.
Formed in '82 by two wee babs named Steve Patrick Morrissey and Johnny Marr, they would rule the '80s with an admittedly reserved discography of only 5 studio albums, disbanding only 5 years after they began. Still changing the music world forever, though, with their melancholic gothic style and lush soundscapes and longing lyrics.
Which wasn't done by anyone before or after.
Morrissey's sweet baritone voice and Marr's vibrant guitars combined to make boys and girls all over the world wet their panties. I know, I'm flooding at just the thought of being Morrissey's proverbial charming man. But I've always respected the band that knows when to cut it, rather than releasing a seminal work and rotting for years after. No, Morrissey alone took that bullet and destroyed his own career, so no one else had to. What a selfless man.
Spoilers for the video, but the Smiths didn't really have a bad record in them. They released classics all throughout the 80s, pumping banger after banger. You had the self-titled that burst them onto the scene, classics like This Charming Man, Reel Around the Fountain, all sorts of good stuff. But then you had Headful of Hollow, which recontextualized a lot of those tracks from the self-titled and allowed them to just breathe with more experimentation to it and just adding along to the songs along with new tracks included and new bangers. And I could keep going, but let's save a little rest for the video here. Come on. No real rules for this video, just I'm going to look at the 5 albums they made over the course of their career, talk about them, give my thoughts in chronological order. Sound good? I miss it. I realize how fat I am. Fucking stupid piece of shit. You made a goddamn video about the fucking Smiths. Piece of shit. Fucking hate you so goddamn.
The Smiths' self-titled was recorded when Marr and Morrissey were just 14 and 19 respectively. This is a tightly knit record, and like I said, sounding as if they've been recording for years previous. But it still has a really big indie outsider feel to it, which can be seen in how, of all the Smiths records, has the heaviest hints of gay love. If any indie filmmakers are watching this and want to quickly become cult darlings, make yourself a gay teen flick and have this be the soundtrack, trust me. Awards will be practically showering on you. Some bona fide classics are on here. Reel Around the Fountain, You've Got Everything Now, Hand in Glove, This Charming Man, which are all revisited on Hatful of Hollow, and choosing between the originals and the Peel recording is very difficult, but the originals certainly have a more youthful and cozy vibe, if I'm to say anything. This debut is a perfect pilot, and while I can't say the band evolves much beyond this album, frankly, it just shows how strong the formula of this album set was. Only real blemish would be the mix on some tracks is kind of weird, and the track Suffer Little Children, which is pretty edgy even by today's standards, but I just chalk it up to Morrissey's growing pains and still figuring out his writing and sense of humor style. But overall, this gets a solid 87.09 on my gaydar.
Come here often. Anyways, the Smiths' first masterwork, Hatful of Hollow.
Yeah, for the entire video I say Hateful of Hollow, but the name of the album is actually Hatful of Hollow. I'm stupid, and I've been calling it Hateful of Hollow for years now, and I just realized that it's a Hatful of Hollow, and I'm dyslexic. So, just go with what my dumbass says for now. I'm not a professional.
Features mostly redid tracks from their self-titled and a lot of gussied up singles with some original things in there. Some people might consider this a compilation because for some fucking reason Spotify does, and it just makes it so difficult scrolling through because I'm trying to find the album and it's like, oh no, it's at the very bottom because it's a compilation. And fuck you, Morrissey. God, fuck you. At almost 54 minutes long, this is definitely the Smiths' longest work yet. But with all these tracks coming together, not a single moment is wasted. It's a big old jangly gumbo the whole family can enjoy. William It's Really Nothing is an extremely upbeat and just great opener. Morrissey leading with this extremely catchy vocal performance and a mix that's just so full and dense, but, you know, gorgeous as shit, led by Mike Joyce's drumming. And if we're going to talk about, hey, come on guys, please, consider Andy Rourke and Mike Joyce into more Smiths discussion. They're great, we get it. Johnny Marr's your favorite guitarist because when you went to the party, you played Wonderwall and everyone got fucking mad at you. She went, I'm gonna learn this charming man instead because they won't expect that one. And then when you went to play it, they called you gay and played some Drake instead because it's the fucking 21st century. Who's playing the goddamn Smiths? Look to these things take time in hand and glove, which is led with this harmonica and this groovy bass line and crunchy drums with basically no Marr at all. They're great tracks, and these are considered classics, so come on, shut the fuck up. We get it. You like... piece of shit. Choosing between the debut and Hollow's version of this charming man is, again, like choosing your favorite child. One's more understated, but infectious at the same time, while Hollow's version's a lot more longing and lush, really bringing out those repressed teenage boy emotions, and not the gay ones. Okay, maybe How Soon Is Now is a fucking massive track. These blaring synth leads that sound like a ghost train going through these dense fog. Legendary stuff. Morrissey's sharp wit is cranked up to 11, with his lyrics going into more abstract and existential themes. There's not much to say about this track aside from it being amazing, and it's always been a personal favorite Smiths track to me. This record is consistently good. If I'm to complain, I have to say a lot of the heavy hitters in the beginning of this album kind of drop off. Not to say it's bad, and I would say that drop off happens after Heaven Knows I'm Miserable Now, which, to be frank, has never been a personal favorite Smiths track of mine. You know, I've always found it maybe a little too Smithy. You get me? Never been my thing. I guess maybe because I didn't grow up on it as much as I did other tracks. However, with tracks like You've Got Everything Now and Reel Around the Fountain, which I far prefer this version than to the original, you still have plenty of great things on the back half. Then you have tracks like Back to This Old House, which even for Smith standards is extremely longing, with this lone acoustic glistening guitar and Morrissey's oh, you know, it's a poignant moment. Overall, a classic record, and on most days I'm gonna tell you this is my favorite, but we'll get there.
Work out, plenty of rest, you know, eat your green vegetables.
I'm not gonna lie with you, I really don't know what to say about Mita's murder. It's certainly good and I can't think of anything inherently wrong with it. Morrissey just wants me to eat my veggies. And maybe I should. Been feeling like I should lose some weight recently. Getting on a stricter diet, working out a little more, dope up some. Not that I got much of an issue with my weight, now, not in like a confidence sense, but I should care for myself a little more in the prime of my life so I won't regret it more down the line. You know, buff up a little. Get some honeys on my biceps like Johnny Bravo. Yeah, I'll do that. Thanks, Morrissey.
Russell Home Ruffians is cool. So it sounds like I'm yee-hawing at the county fair. That's good. I Want the One I Can't Have is a classic track. So is What She Said and Barbarism Begins at Home. It's a bop. Honestly, you know, there's a lot more of a blues influence on this record that I can see and respect. It's more than on this and anything else they've done before or since. But neither here nor there. Oh, yeah. See, I can make points about the record. I listen to it. I know words. I'm a critic. Fucking, I'll be like Anthony Fantano. I can flex my vinyl collection. I can be just like Tony. Ooh, come on, get on there. Yes. Oh, we can get too quiet. Oh, you're real secure now. I'm honestly shocked Morrissey managed to predict the Netflix television series Big Mouth nearly 30 years in advance. Here, you may think I'm joking, but look, he told me himself. Would that be more appropriate? Yeah, that's more appropriate. But that's real inappropriate, though. The most defining and well-known record in their catalog, The Queen is Dead, is an absolute bona fide classic. The first track, aka the first thing you're going to be catching me playing the second Queen Elizabeth hits the dust, Queen is Dead, is led with these powerful drums. Morrissey just delivering this hilarious fucking vocal performance, you know, these great lines. And along with a mix full that's just lush, but filled with these distorted guitars and light synth motifs. It is just a bop of an opening. I can't say much for Frankly Mr. Shankly, but the guitar and bass on here are just really upbeat, fun, just a pleasant track to listen to, honestly, and a great follow-up to Queen is Dead and its fast-paced opening. Then this album has a strange stint for a moment where it decides to go into these somber ballads. The following two tracks, I Know It's Over and Never Had No One Ever. I just want to tell you how much I've hated reading these titles off. They're not easy to remember. They fucking suck. These low-key ballads are kind of reminiscent to something you find from the 50s, almost. Like these slow, straying instrumentation, which I think someone like Amy Winehouse would go on to mimic 20 years from this album's release. But there's a very distinct Smiths style to it. Like, you're not going to be mixing it up with your fucking Patsy Cline. Not a good comparison. It's the first name to come to my head. I'm very sorry. Now that we're moving on from Sad Boy Hours, you go to Cemetery Gates, which is a slapper. Moving from Sad Boy Hours to Cemetery Gates, you get a slammer. Great track, funny as hell, catchy. But the line, someone with the big nose who knows, makes me think Morrissey was reading a few too many B&P pamphlets at this time. I already made a Big Mouth joke. What else did I do? Boy with a Thorn in His Side is also a massive slapper, but honestly, if you call the whole back half of this album an NBC drama based on an Australian television series that aired in 2015, because it's the slaps. I'd say the only weak link on this album would have to be Vicar in a Tutu. I've had a turbulent relationship with this record, this song over time, where I've started hating, but I've gradually come to like it, but I still see it as sort of the weakest on the record. I don't know why. I guess it's just a strange bit of storytelling in the middle of the record. I don't know. I guess Morrissey's having a good fine time making fun of organized religion, and I've just generally found the instrumentation to be some of the weakest on here. I don't know what it is specifically about it that gets on my nerves, but I think I figured it out. It's because it feels like a song that should have been on Meat is Murder because of its more bluesy and upbeat influence with it, not something that's like lush as an opener or a Cemetery Gates or something like that. And of course, you have the following track, There's a Light That Never Goes Out. Do I need to say a word? This is the biggest track the Smiths have ever released, and it is an absolute, and it deserves that status, 100%. The morbid beauty of the track's lyrics, along with the gorgeous orchestration that comes in throughout the track, it's just such a great and memorable track. It feels just amazing. But we all know it. So let's just move on to the last track, Some Girls Are Bigger Than Others. Great track. Very familiar, very similar to the opening, which is how lush and dense the mix is and just how explosive Morrissey is. Maybe not explosive, but I think it's a good culmination to sort of the mix of that explosiveness and the ballads that you had in that first quarter of the record. Overall, record's a classic. If you haven't already listened to it, you're not a teenager yet. You get this along with the Birds and the Bees. After all my praise for... You'd think I would want to end this video on a high note and tell you Strange Ways Here We Comes is also an amazing album. No.
5 bars, 5 seconds.
Well, far from a bad record, as the opener shows a departure from a lot of the band's typical convention, led by this jaunty piano and Morrissey giving a more unconditional, shouty vocal performance. And I started something I couldn't finish. This is one of their hardest tracks to date. But after that, the album falters. Quite a few tracks just don't hit the mark, and honestly, this is Morrissey at his corniest. Look to Unhappy Birthday. Fucking, I've come to wish you an unhappy birthday because you are evil and you lie. Like, fucking come on with that shit. I know you could do better, bro. Please. Anyways, what impresses me about this record is its dedication to its experimentation. Mara wanted to move their sound past the jangle that so defined them in their career. Piano ballads, a greater use of strings, since, well, it did them all on the last record, and more synthetic sounds like drum machines. Well, I appreciate the direction, and it does work out for the most part. It feels too rough and really needed to be iterated upon, but we unfortunately never get that. But the band were proud of it, and apparently it's Mara and Morrissey's favorite thing they've put out together. You know what? Good for them.
About a month after this record dropped, the band would break up. Morrissey would go on to do his own solo stuff and become synonymous with a baked potato exploding in the oven. Johnny Marr would just kind of be a cool guy. Yeah. Al Pacino, but he knows what a guitar is. Mike would go on to, I believe, perform in a few other bands. I think he would do some shit with Sinead O'Connor, do some shit with the Buzzcocks, and Andy Rourke, like every famous bassist. No one gave a shit what he did.
Hey, Bitchface here. Just wanted to say, subscribe, I don't know, like the video, I don't know, I'm not making you do anything. But also, since I am very unoriginal and can't have an idea of my own by myself, I'd like it if you would suggest what else you want me to look at in the future. Yeah. Got some essay-type videos up in the future. Might try to do more quick-fire reviews of newer releases to be up-to-date, sort of like my 100 Gex video and my Eco 2K video. So yeah, just tell me what you want me to do. Good night.